Well, I think when you're dealing with middle school students, they're already becoming consumers. I mean, they're certainly targeted consumers. So we did an exercise on who they were as consumers. What are the kinds of things that you like to buy? What are the kinds of commercials that catch your eye? How do those commercials catch your eye? All those things. And in focusing on doing the whole who you are as a consumer piece, we also talked about being a responsible consumer. So as we did that, it was a nice segue to, okay, if you were selling these products, these sneakers, for example, because I do work with urban kids, they love their athletic shoes. So we talked about how if you were someone who's trying to sell someone like you these athletic shoes, what would you do? And sort of we came about it from that aspect, from that maybe for a couple of years, and seeing the difference between their country of origin versus here in terms of how things are advertised and how things are, was really interesting. We did the whole market analysis piece about what would you like to see as a school store, given that this school really is your community. We had a real focus on providing service to the community. And so we talk to the kids about, what a community is and what their needs might be and how you might analyze those needs. So they came up actually with everything that was in the school store, which was actually pretty neat.
So when we first started with Sage, and this will be our 5th year, when we first started with Sage, we had a school in a high-rise office building, and we had floors, 7 to 11 or 7 to 12 or whatnot. And we didn't have much of a cafeteria facility, and there were no breakfast options at the school, but there was a lot of fast food and junk food available. So the kids originally decided that they would like to do a grab-and-go breakfast program, and that worked out really well. It wasn't a huge profit maker because the kids like to keep the cost down, but it was successful in that it got a lot more kids eating healthy breakfast. And as a business, it proved to be scalable and sustainable and highly successful from that aspect. So when the school got its own building and we moved a few blocks away, they specifically built it with a very nice kitchen facility. And there's 2 chefs on staff, and the whole focus is healthy eating, and they offered breakfast because they already knew that there was a market for that. So our scalable and sustainable business was essentially taken over by the school. So when we moved to the new building, which is another multi-use building, we have the basement through the 4th floor, and then 5th and above are luxury condominiums. So our floors, the kids wanted to do something specific with the school. They kind of liked doing a project that gave back or provided a service to the school community. And one of the things that they were interested in was recycling. And the school previously had tried to recycle, and there's a mandate in Pittsburgh that businesses are supposed to recycle, but it just could never get off the ground. It just wouldn't. They said they started it, and then they'd, staff or students would see them throwing all the garbage and recycling together and just putting it into one dumpster, so they knew it wasn't happening, and that really bothered the students. So they decided to tackle that as a new business. They approached the school administration and said, if we can nail down this business, come up with a good plan, would you hire us as a contractor to provide recycling services for the school? And the school said, if you can research this and figure out a way for this to work in the new building, we will hire you as a contractor to make sure that we're in compliance and we're recycling. So that's what the students did. They worked with the City High facilities manager and the building owners and found out, what companies provide recycling services and what needs to be done and what containers would work in the basement of our building. We can't do certain containers because the trucks can't lift them up, all kinds of things. I mean, who knew that there was that much to go with recycling? But they figured it all out. They got recycle bins ordered for everywhere. They figured out a schedule. They had students staffing lunches to remind students to recycle and what could be recycled, because there was a whole education component to it. They did public service announcements and flyers. They talked to the different advisory groups on we are recycling and why we're recycling and how does it help. And they did all the scheduling and staffing for the after-school recycling and taking it downstairs. So they created another business out of a need with the school.
The business model was a result of a specific need at our site because our district, there was no longer, they decided there'd be no longer busing for regular education students because of budget restraints. And then the students would need to find alternative transportation. And with parents either driving or students riding bikes, it seemed an ideal match to have a mobile service and repair business right on campus so students could come and get their bikes, the small minor repairs taken care of.
Well, it was 3 years ago, I think now. I was in my second year at Pioneer High School. I teach all self-contained classes, so I teach all students with disabilities. And I really wanted to incorporate some real life and work skills into my curriculum. And I thought, what could I bring to the school that they could do there at the school, work-wise? I asked around, and I discovered that a different high school about, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes away from Pioneer, ran a student-run coffee shop. My building principal let me out for a half day and let me go observe how they run their coffee shop and talk to the advisor at the school there. And that's really what started it all. I asked my principal for permission to run the coffee shop, and he gave it to me. And through donations from the school donated 2 coffee machines to me. The school also donated $500 for me to start up to run the coffee shop, and help from other self-contained teachers. We just started running it. And from there, that first year, it was really trial and error of what worked and what didn't work. But it was just, it was an idea of how I could incorporate work and life skills into math curriculum, and that's really how it all started. I remember, I think I had to meet with the principal at least once, and I want to say I met with him maybe a second time with a group of students who were interested in running the coffee shop. The catch was that, and which is still now, the coffee shop runs before the start of the school day, so I can't legally require any students to get to school early to help me. It's strictly all on a volunteer basis. So I think what the principal wanted to see was a good amount of student buy-in to run the student coffee shop. And that first year there was a good amount of students, I think maybe 5 or 6, that came in early to help. But once I met with him, I think 1 or 2 times, it was smooth sailing from there. I don't remember having any problems. I would suggest if someone was going to open up any food or drink run business, that besides getting in touch with administration in the main office, to also contact ahead of time the cafeteria administration, because there was a lot of sanitary hoops and hurdles that I didn't know about that I needed to know about, and they're really helpful, and they spend so much time during the day preparing school breakfast and lunch. I was like one more thing to add to their list of things to do to help us clean and sanitize the way we needed to. So I would suggest not only office administration, but cafeteria administration.
Just gave it to the kids and said, what do you think? Are you interested in starting a business? Do you think that would be something that we could do? And they were all excited about it. And the regular ed kids and the kids with disabilities, and they were the ones we said, well, we have to, one of the co-op teachers was also a business ed teacher, so she was able to do a lot of sort of instruction on how to start a business and what it means and what would you be getting into. And so we did that, and then the kids really came up with ideas of what kind of business could we run within the school and where would there be a need. And they just brainstormed with a lot of ideas and came up with this idea about the coffee, because they had heard that the coffee machines had been taken out, and then they wanted to do a survey and see if anybody would be interested in buying coffee or having coffee brought in, and there was an overwhelming positive response to that, and so then we started getting going on developing the program, and that's when we decided to look for some supports. And we contacted a lot of different coffee businesses like Starbucks and Altera, and to see if anybody would be interested in helping us get started. And we ended up partnering with just a local family-owned coffee business, and they were so wonderful. They really helped us develop our business plan and gave us all kinds of ideas on how we could get started, and gave us a discount with the coffee and invited us over to there several times to come and see how they roasted the coffee, how they made coffee, and that really got everybody excited about the whole business. It's something that we could do and be successful with, and kids learned a lot of good skills about working and what it was going to take to be able to develop this business and all the different parts of the business. I think they were really helpful. You've got to have somebody doing the sales and making the coffee and marketing and cleaning up and all different. So things just really came together nicely for us. They were helpful with us. They kind of explained that, and how much profit you had to make and how much you were going to spend buying products, and then they helped us figure out what we could ask for a price, and that was, a little bit hit and miss too, because you really don't know until you start selling it. I mean, you don't know how much you're going to sell every day, but Fiddleheads, they were really good and especially in giving us a discount on the coffee, which really ensured that we would have a profit, and they're still giving it to us at a discount. So, and that whole kind of bookkeeping end of it, and that was a tough part of the whole business, and getting the kids to be accurate with that and following through with that. And we had our kids we had all the kids partner up in the different job responsibilities. So we had a student with disabilities and a student without disabilities in each of the areas, sales and the finance and the environmental, the recycling, and the marketing. So we had kind of one-to-one, and that worked out really well. And we just had one of the kids make a spreadsheet so we could keep track of all of our sales and all of our money we were taking in and the money we were spending, the withdrawals, and really stayed on top of what we were selling, what we were taking in. We had somebody in charge of inventory, and the kids just really took the responsibility and just made it work.
Of course, the outcome of this student business is jobs. That's the bottom line, is training for self-employment or just training for the basic skills for any job. And so we looked around our community and we thought, what would be an area that we could transition some of our students into, that we could have the resources right here. And that was, we're located right next to the UW kitchen. And so we started working in the UW kitchen, where we started a new program called the UW Cafe program, Food Preparation and Service. And after we worked with the program for a while, we thought, well, we really could start our own pizza and cookie business and start training our students and our student workers to also transition into many of the businesses in town that either have some type of food preparation or just sell pizzas and cookies. And so that's what led to September to 18th of this year, when we put our advertisement out in the newspaper and on the radio, and the pizza and cookie business began, or the product lines began.